we have gathered 5 amazing thought leaders from the data industry who will now discuss on how they deliver value with data products. So fasten your seatbelt. I'm hoping for a wild ride, or at least some great ideas and inspiration on data product management. But of course, we will not leave them all on their own. Someone needs to drive this in the right direction. And this someone is Dr. Stefan Roskos, Managing Director of One Data. Rossi, please join me in here. Great to have you on board. Hello.
All right. Hello, Anna. Well, thanks for taking me through this journey up to here, and a big thank you for allowing me on the coffee break. That's always good to be fresh here on stage. Yeah,
Coffee is always good.
we have a very cool panel here, and thanks for introducing me. I'm managing director of One Data based here in Munich, and I'm going to introduce this amazing panel to you. And I'm also going to ask everybody of them, this is a pre-warning, ladies and gentlemen, to give also a fun fact about yourself so that people know who they're actually talking to. So if I ask the people that, I'm probably trying to do a fun fact about myself. Hannah called me Rossi before. That's actually a long-standing nickname. It's here since the 3rd grade in school. It's been very established, as even at the marriage in church, the priest actually addressed me as Rossi if I was asked if I wanted to marry my wife, which the clear question was yes. So I think that's quite significant, and potentially the impact for all of you is feel free to call me Rossi as well, or my other name, whatever suits you best. But I'm really proud to have here this great round Willem Koenders, who's a global data leader, Sedes, who joins us from Washington, D.C., Arielle Rolland, data and AI strategy consultant at Accenture, who joins us from Montreal. We've got Rouven Homann, who's the managing director of SIMT, based in Hamburg. And Caroline Carruthers, she's a chief executive at Carruthers Injection. Actually, on her LinkedIn profile, she is also saying she's a data cheerleader, so I appreciate that as well. And last but not least, we've got Timo Unger, head of business planning from Panasonic, based in Munich. So, but since you all are so smart on data and know best about yourself, do me a big favor, give me a quick round of introduction in the way you are here on the slide, and tell a little bit about yourself, and don't forget the fun fact. Willem, will you start?
All right, let's see if it works. Thank you, sir. Hi, everyone. So my name's Willem, dialing in here from Washington, D.C. Great to be here, talk about data products. You know, one of the big passions that I have in our work. I think my fun fact real quick is that I've worked on and helped build and operationalize data products in 5 continents. So not bad, I would say. Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's continue with you, Arielle.
Hi everyone, and Rossi, thank you for having me today. I'm Arielle Rolland, so as you said, I'm a data and AI strategy consultant. I work for Accenture. I started in the UK and then moved to Montreal about a year ago, so very new to the Canadian market. My fun fact, I'd say I had a few in mind. I think more of a personal one. I started sewing, and I think my first experience with a sewing machine was very much sewing my finger, which I do not recommend.
Okay. Well, thanks, Arielle. Hi, Rouven.
Hi everyone. Looks like I'm the only one who got the memo that data products needs to stand out, hence the orange. Just like a good data product, I'm here to be bold, eye-catching, and hopefully very useful. Let's see. And let's see if I can provide as much value as my outfit does today, hopefully.
All right, thanks. And we have got Caroline.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for inviting me along today. I really appreciate it. So I am the author of a few books on data, so things like data-driven business transformation was one of mine. I've worked in the data space for a long time. The dinosaurs were not roaming the earth, but it was not far afterwards that I've been involved with data, and I love working with the One Data crew. They are amazing. The fun fact I would probably share with you today is that at one point in time I held a Guinness World Record for how many coffee beans I could move with chopsticks.
That's really weird. Thank you. Amazing, Caroline. And finally, over to you, Timo.
That's a fun fact, difficult to beat, I think. Okay, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm also very happy to be with you today. My name is Timo Unger. I'm head of business planning in Panasonic Toughbook. Toughbook, for the ones who don't know, these are rugged mobile IT devices enabling frontline workers to do their job in all industries across the world. And yeah, I'm basically passionate about sales and how we can use data to increase the sales and be more successful. And yeah, the fun fact about me, yeah, I'm lucky to have 3 daughters, but at some point of time, I thought I need a male allied at home. And since by data experience, it was very easy to make the make or buy decision. And for that reason, we have now also a male cat at home.
All right, all right. Thank you, everybody, for the round of discussion, introduction. So today, of course, this is all about delivering value with data products, right? I mean, we've all heard this 1,000 times across all the conferences. It's a very high-level statement here. And what I would like to achieve in this panel discussion is to get a really good grip on what that actually means. And if then that's value there, how can we achieve it, or how can we potentially not achieve it? Yeah, what has not worked well in the past, which has been, I don't know, too dogmatic or pretty premature, something like that. So let's take the same order here as we did with a quick round of introduction. What I would actually like to hear from you is a little bit let's define what a data product is, because many people define it differently. I've seen probably as many definitions as slides on the last Gartner conference in London. The best thing to get this little bit theoretical exercise more vivid is, why don't you bring your favorite data product example? And so with that example, define a little bit what the data product is. So I hope you all do have a favorite data product at hand, being part of this panel. What's the data product and what's your favorite product? Is that a question okay for you, Willem? Would you go ahead, like to start for that?
Yes, sir, for sure. And so maybe real quick, like what's a data product? At least for me, like I would think about it as a logical grouping, right? Of curated data that's reusable across at least one, but typically more use cases that drive value. With like one additional like flavor or nuance to add is that they can typically be either like source oriented, they're very close to the process that creates it, or then consumer oriented, like how would you actually use them for a specific use case. Now, I think you asked for my like favorite example. Like I really like one from the last year working with a globally leading medical technology company who is in the middle of their migration of their ERP platform. And that already is like a good kind of context, because like if you go about this entirely new, it can be pretty hard, right? If you need to like do the whole business case, it's much easier if there's something else going on already you can tag on. So anyway, they had a material logistics history, let's say data asset or product that they would create that, across all of their like tens of thousands of different types of products would it would track like where was what at what time, like in kind of in region, in geographic coordinates. Like that was something that was fairly easily to be created then, and then it drove an enormous amount of impact through, how do you optimize your routes, for example? How do you day-to-day plan your distribution, let's say efficiency? You can analyze which products were returned and why. They didn't have any of that before. And it even provided like compliance use cases, because they could show like what was delivered at what standard and where. So fantastic, at least for me, fantastic example of using an existing transformational program to create an asset that was reusable across completely different use cases.
Well, thanks a lot, and thanks also for pointing out one of the key aspects, which is the reusability that makes a data product a data product. I think that's a very, very strong point. Thank you so much, Willem, for sharing that with me. But I'm quite sure that Arielle also probably has a comparable good one on their plate. So, would you like to share that with me?
And I think I'm more of the opinion of a lot of organizations are trying to nail down, the right definition for data product. And what I can see is that we sometimes struggle, or at least when I'm having conversation with my clients, we struggle to get that final, very refined definition of a product. And I sometimes think that, especially in software and IT, the definition of a product, it doesn't take that long to, or we don't spend as much time, I guess, to define what is a product in software and IT. So why are we doing that much, refining of definition in the data space? So I kind of think that sometimes it's not about actually nailing down the definition. It's more nailing down the techniques and the principle to apply on the data. So we could leverage just basic data, I guess basic product management techniques without even mentioning data product in the first place. So I think that's my point of view. I do have, I guess, more of a vision of what a data product is. So to me, and I think Accenture internally, we've had many discussion is, in that balance sheet, we have physical assets, we have logical assets. Why don't we have an asset that is a data product with pluses and minuses in that balance sheet? So then at the end of the year or at the end of the financial year, we can actually report onto that data asset and the benefit and the cost associated to it. What it means is usually, I guess, in my head, it's something that is, I guess, a ready-to-use package of data, metadata, some code, some services, some standards, and also the experience around it. That is, I guess, creating that data product, which is technically addressing a specific business needs or a specific business information. I think that's how I would define it. To answer your question on my favorite data product, I think this one was a tough one. It took me a little bit of time to think of what I would go with. The best one that I've seen wasn't actually one that I was responsible for. It was one that I have seen at my client a couple of years ago, which was more how they were using, I guess, network data to understand the traffic of people in a train station. And they created that beautiful, I guess, interface where you can really understand at what time rush hour was in a train station based on those network data. And they really, instead of focusing on what the data was giving us as insight, it was the recommendation and the visuals was giving the right information for people to make the decision on how many trains do you want to have at specific time, how do you want to manage those rush hours. So I think it was very powerful and a really great data product that they could monetize on for future customer.
All right. No, thank you very much. I think it's a brilliant example, and it points out for me a very important characteristic of a data product, which is the value of the data product, which can be like a business value. Everybody comes that to mind, but it could also be a value for communities and societies in commuting better and using more public transportation. So I think that's quite brilliant at that point in time. Thank you so much, Arielle. Well, what's your view, Rouven, on data product, and what's your favorite data product? We know your favorite color already. So.
Right. Yeah. I think that's the easy one. I think it's nearly like the others already telling. I think it's a package of it's a solution package, when we call it like that. And for me, it's very important to have the business needs and the business goals in one of the first points to address when it comes to a project, because I've seen so many data projects and data products without a real business impact, and that was quite challenging and often leads to not so good solutions, let's call it like that. So for me, the business case is very important to have it, and this is also a change that was, I think, that took over the last years, that we're not just gathering or harvesting data and trying to get anything out of it, but defining the business goals first and then trying to set up something. I think that's the change. And yeah, what's my favorite data product? That's hard. I was thinking over, I had a recent article written about a bicycle computer that I've seen that was invented, and they were explaining me what a data product is when it comes to cycling and for a cycling computer, for example. And that was quite interesting for me to see that, for example, weather data is a data product, and health data is a data product. And I found all the combinations quite impressive for me. And it's not only one favorite, but for me, it's a package of those data sets that I found very useful and quite inspiring.
All right, now thank you very much. And if I may add and agree, that's a brilliant example, because what we've seen in the years before is that especially the combination of data products creates something unique and new, and that typically stems from different sources, and that's real creation. And in particular, if those sources are trusted, which is a characteristic of a data product as well, it becomes really, really powerful. So thank you for bringing up this aspect as well, Rouven. Caroline, what's your view on data products and your favorite one, please? Thank you.
I am all about the simplicity. I think if we let data and IT people spend enough time arguing about the definition of a data product, we will never get anything useful done. So I'm very much on the line of it is a trusted, reusable data asset. And that could be anything from a raw data set that we use for loads of different things, through to the software that goes into self-driving cars and makes decisions for us in ways like that. So I'm much more about how do we drive the value, how do we create something, as Rouven said, how do we actually get something useful for what we're talking about. And when you asked me, because you did give us a little bit of warning about picking our favorite data product, and I felt a little bit like that was a slightly odd question, but I ran with it. Coming from the UK, we're slightly obsessed about the weather. Anybody who's been near the UK knows this about us. We love a conversation about the weather. So if I had to pick a favorite data product, it's the data set that our Met Office puts out that feeds all our weather apps in the UK.
Okay, all right. Well, that's a good one. It also has a social aspect, and yeah, you just repeated what the others were saying in terms of characteristic of a data product. It really comes down to the daily practical value of what that data product actually is delivering, as opposed to we're all agreeing on a definition, I would say, and also fully buying into that, because it's we're not in academia, at least not anymore. If it comes to me. So thanks for pointing that out, Caroline. Very refreshing. And last but not least, Timo, what's your view on data products, or would you even care about the definition? And are you happen to have a favorite one?
Yeah, Rossi, if you ask me to give a definition, I would say a data product, there's nothing different compared to a product we are used to. Ultimately, it needs to deliver an outcome for the customer, and then only then it has a value. If the user really gets an outcome, and that can be a trigger for a further activity, or it can just be further intelligence gained, but the outcome, that's really in the center. My favorite data product is something again related to our sales force. As a manufacturer, we collect a lot of data, basically from the first second of the life of the product. We start collecting data. We have all the warranty and repair data in our service cloud. We have historical sales data in our ERP system, and now we know what the customers bought 3, 4, 5 years ago. We know what are our new products available, and now we try to match those product specifications from the past with the new products. And bringing all these different data sources together, I can now trigger my sales guys and tell them and recommend them at which point of time they should offer which kind of product to which customer, and that's really a big benefit which we have achieved by building a data product.
Thank you so much. Here comes the business value again. Excellent concrete example. That's really hands-on. I like that a lot. So open question to the round, and everybody who has an opinion, just feel free to start the conversation and then probably cross each other. So there's one thing I'm wondering about. There is a deep consensus that data products will and are delivering value. Everybody wants it. I've never heard somebody like, let's not do something with data, let's remove this and go back to gut feeling and stuff like that. So the direction is clear. Things become data-driven, projections, decisions are data-driven. Data products are the cornerstone of that. So why is it sometimes so hard these days to create these data products? Because I tend to hear back, and let me know if you see it differently, that people would like to use more data products and more data in real life, but sometimes the process to get to this data source, data product as a trustful source of business value information is a little bit cumbersome. So what's your view is, why is it not even more? So
can I jump
Sure.
in?
Yeah,
I can start
Go
with.
ahead.
But I think the really obvious one is that we haven't done the work on data in the past. So we're trying to create data products, and to do a really good data product, you need something to build it with. You need the data, and if we're sitting on a ton of data that hasn't been looked after, hasn't been governed, hasn't been cleaned, hasn't been curated, hasn't been collected, all of those great things we know we should have been doing around data, then we're going to struggle to create the product, because there's a lot of work we have to do to make sure we have what we need. It's creating the good tools in the kitchen to be able to produce the right recipe.
Mm-hmm.
So I think getting some of the basics right is one of the first problems we have to encounter.
All right.
And I think I'd like to jump on it, which is, if you look back at the history around, what's the evolution on the data and AI side, and also how did we go to product management as well in the IT space. We didn't have it. We just at the edge of where we're migrating to cloud. We're getting the data team working with the business a little bit closer. So I think there has been an evolution where, yes, data was initially not available to all. We managed to get a data lake, to get a data platform, to enable of the right services to support the analysis and the insight creation. I think now we're talking about data mesh, data fabric. We are getting onto that space where we are enabling anyone, or democratizing, I guess, all of the data practices. So I think if you look back at the history around product management in IT, where it happened the same thing. Initially, the IT team was managing all of the applications development, and then now ultimately the line of businesses are actually owning some of the applicatives. So we are repeating the same story that happened in software, in the data. So I think we're just going through this evolution. But you're right. I think, Caroline, I agree. We are just building the foundation as we speak.
I would maybe add to that. I mean, confirm all of that, but I would maybe add to that that a really great data product or data asset, like it's kind of cross-functional in nature, right? So you have to have this kind of collaboration where you need to have folks from a business side, both from the where the data is kind of created and changed, as well as usually also teams in other teams that would be using it, right? You have teams, you know, the engineers that you need for the data pipelines, potentially scientists for the model. If you do it again, if you do it right in the right scale, you may need to have someone from a privacy office to check the data access protocols, these types of things. So these things are easy to present, right? In a like say a forum like this around like, hey, here's an agile type of way of you get all these people together. But like in reality, these still tend to report up to their own organizations with their own incentives and their own kind of, you know, things that they remember. And I think that's just where, you know, going from theory and ideas into making this real, it just, you know, you need discipline, sustained positive energy to actually kind of get through that and actually start to get those patterns to get these teams to trust each other as well. Like at least from my view, that's part of it as well.
Yeah, I also would like to confirm on these points. Basically, you need this cross-functional team. You need the ones who already start thinking from the outcome again, the ones who say, this is what I want to achieve ultimately with the data product. And then you need the experts in the background who can build you that product and understand how the data works. But the power is really in this cross-functional collaboration.
Yeah, and I want to add that I've seen a lot of companies fearing the effort to shift an organization to a domain-driven approach, which is quite close to establishing data products in the company. And most of the organizations worry about losing governance, for example, and it's something that is still a misunderstanding from my side.
All right. Thank you for this aspect. So if I just there's a big question always, and I think you've partly given the answer, but sometimes not the case. So who should own the data product in your view? Is it owned by the IT? Is it owned by the domain? Is it the data product of sales team? Is that your data product that you're having and you're going to ask the IT guys to do, or is it owned by the chief data officer or somebody who's the owner? Huh? Who is it? I depending on who I talk to, I get completely different answers. So, what would be your view on that?
Maybe the nuance start with what kind of data product are we talking about?
Yeah.
I think we need to unpack it and say, okay, you know, we know there is different type of data product. As Willem said, you know, you've got your source aligned data product, you have your more consumer aligned data product, you've got advanced analytics data product. So ultimately, based on the different type of data product, the skill set will be significantly different, and the kind of knowledge that you need is going to also be very different. So the answer on this one is probably not straightforward, and to me, it's very tightly aligned with this kind of nuances when you're defining or when you're working with a specific data product.
I would have to back Arielle. I feel like there's a mutual appreciation society going on here, so not on purpose, I promise. But I do have to agree with that one. There are many different types of data product, and the reason that you're probably getting different answers as to who owns it is it depends on which type of data product you're talking about. Because if it's, for instance, a set of raw data that somebody looks at, it's probably the person who creates it that would be responsible for that particular one. Whereas if it is more of a product that's a algorithm, for instance, then it's the person that's using the algorithm and actually getting the value. So normally my answer would come back to who's actually getting the value from it, and that's got to be in the line somewhere.
Okay, so differentiated answer, Willem.
No, just for the most part, like totally agreeing with that. Like, you know, the answer traditional, it's going to be it depends, right? A little bit. So I would still say that, having said that, it just tends to help if you can align it with kind of that domain driven model. So like if your products and assets could be embedded into that domain driven understanding, even if it doesn't fit exactly, it just really helps in general, because that's where, you know, your broader data ownership concept will be defined, typically, at least, right? So I think there's, and so I think that's maybe one thing from an operationalization, like how easily you can do that. And then the second part around like the actual role of a data product owner, like is maybe different from the data ownership of that's included in the product or the asset. And I think the data product role is something you could delegate, like, or something you could, let's say you could hire it into, yeah, you could have a, you know, cross-functional team under the CDO that owns a couple of products. You can have them within a business team. They could actually be in IT even. Like, as long as the role is clear, as long as it's clear that the accountability for the data that's included in it, you cannot defer, right? You cannot delegate that. That eventually still comes back to the respective owner. But I've seen, probably like you, Stefan, like many different shapes and forms of like where the actual data product owner can sit and report to.
Okay, well, interesting. It's a
And
matter of
maybe I've got,
differentiation.
Rosie, I've got one more. I think one thing on ownership that I've looked at was one, looking at setting up a forum where those ownership discussion actually happen. Because ultimately, I think my mindset is more ownership can shift. You can give the ownership to maybe two people or one person that has the best skill set at the given time. And then as the product evolved, you may find that actually the ownership may need to shift somewhere else, or to move to somewhere else that is more qualified. So I don't think ownership is a static concept. I think it is moving, and is probably one of the key principles underneath product management.
All right, perfect. I'm also looking at the time. Maybe we have a last question for the full round. So to say, as a closing statement. Actually, it's not. It just came up here because I had that conversation, and I thought it was be a strange conversation. So I'm sure everybody of you can answer the question. So I was actually discussing with a person around like trends in everything around data, and the two dominating topics today are data products and generative AI, as probably we all come across. And that somebody said to me, actually, no, we don't talk about data product this time. We have to take care about generative AI first, right? So we probably do data products later, right? And now here's the closing question. What would you respond to that person, Rouven? Rouven, maybe your first reaction. What would you start on? I think you're still mute.
Are you kidding?
I'm sorry, no, go on.
Yeah, go first, no problem.
No, Caroline, go first.
I'll make it really quick. What problems are you having, and what do we need to use to solve that problem? It's actually, that's what I would be focusing on, not how I solve the problem.
All right. Thank you. Rouven.
Obviously, generative AI as a tool, or as a tool to achieve a goal, and I still need data products. So data product should come first, from my opinion.
Well, that. Willem?
I mean, I'm not shy to talk about this one. Like, this is very close to my heart. Like, I don't know, like many clients want that. That's just the newest tool on the marketplace, right? That they want to use, and they want to use it tomorrow. You can't do it with the right data, right? It's as simple as that. At least not for the, like, you can use the Copilot type of implementations, but they won't really change your business process in any meaningful way. Not really, anyway. Like, if you really need this to work in any reliable way, like, there's a couple of people who rushed to it and they suffered from it, right? They bought wrong implementations in legal industry and food production. You can see them. But like, if GenAI, like, even those implementations will not work if you have access to the right high quality data. And so the risk is even increased, because no matter what you ask a GenAI application, like, the result's going to be elegant, right? So you can't actually tell that easily if it's actually high quality response or not for whatever the business process is. So, you have that foundational, what data do you have? Can you trust it? How does it drive kind of these responses is still there. And data products is just the quickest way to get there. So if this has been one that I've been talking about, you almost can hear the fatigue in my voice almost around like, trying to try to talk about this. But like, that's like for me, is definitely have to go back to the foundational data capabilities first. But at the same time, you can use it as, this is the big momentum. Like this is the business case creation behind those foundational things if you want something like Gen AI. So I would leave it at that.
Yeah, for me, the value really lies in the data product, and Gen AI, it's just a tool which can even deliver the data product and support to build the data product.
Okay.
Maybe my 2 cents is I actually think you can look at Gen AI or LLM as a data product, because you still need to look at, manage the data quality of your LLM. There's still data going through that LLM, even though, you might not be owning, it may be coming from data products, or it might be coming from third-party sources, which may also be data products. But this ecosystem around that LLM is potentially the data product, or you could apply the data product thinking on that LLM.
All right. Thank you very much. Very pointed as well as very insightful answers. Thanks everybody for being part of this panel today, taking your time. It's been amazing to be your host. I'm looking virtually over. I think we are heading back to Hannah, if I'm not completely mistaken, and double checking if now we're running out of time. I'm sorry for that. Hannah, what's the next step? Are we having questions, or are we giving a warm virtual applause and goodbye to all the panelists here?
I would definitely say applause to you all. It was great listening in, and obviously I really enjoyed just sitting back and watching you guys. So thanks a lot for being here. In case our audience has questions, I've seen a few on the side. We will come back to you and answer all of them. So many thanks for all those people being active out there. And yeah, for our panelists, and Rossi, for you moderating through our panel today. So I'll take over from here. Many, many thanks, and hopefully see you soon.
All right. Thank you so much. Happy data product building.
Great.